Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We'll turn the jams down, but we'll let them roll in the background. I apologize. I was trying to hop on here about 90 seconds ago, and my kiddo had to grab some toys out of this room. Anybody watching that's in LA dealing with the LAUSD 3-day strike? Whee. Always something. Always something. But we surge forward. We power along. Oh, my goodness. People were like, at some point, Dan, it really does settle in. I don't think I believe them. And maybe someday. Maybe someday I'll believe that it's just not like this swirling tornado of mismatched. I like to use the, like, trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with life with multiple children, but the pieces don't fit. So you're just like, come on, why isn't this? And then eventually you just throw all the pieces up in the air. First 5, baby. First 5 questions in the chat room. We will answer them now. Omar, you're first out of the chute here. Oh, hey, by the way, like and subscribe. That's the first thing you say on a show, right? That's how you do the YouTube thing. Hey, we're over 3,200 now. That's fun. Get to 3,300, I guess. Hey, Dan, haven't used any ads on the week yet. Good job, Omar. Who of the Spurs, Hawks, Wiz are to be trusted streaming-wise since they have the back-to-back, or should I do a one-day stream? Levert, Marvin Bagley. I have 6 moves for the week. So when I have more moves, I just stream more roster slots. Oh, but only here. There's one more little thing. Only one bench slot. So that probably means that the dudes on the wire are relatively good if the teams aren't super deep, which means that you should be able to stream a whole bunch of stuff. Spurs I don't trust at all because they're going to rest every one of their guys in probably one of the 2 back-to-backs. We're already getting word. Trey Jones is in. Keldon Johnson is out. And then we'll get the rest of them over the course of the day. It'll just keep ticking down the board until we know which... like 4 Spurs are out, which 4 Spurs are in of the 8 that they keep shuffling in and out of the lineup. So I don't think I'd go that route. Hawks, you could go Okongwu. You could go Bogdanovic. DeAndre Hunter's probably on a team. Those other guys might not be on a team also. I don't know that I would go any farther than those dudes. Wizards, you got Gafford is your best one. Monte Morris, DeLon Wright. DeLon's been dropped in a bunch of spots, but again, once you get into a better scheduling zone, that's when that type of stuff ramps up. And, 4 games over the last 6 days this week, that's a guy that could really do some damage for you in the steals department, if that's a thing you're hunting. I know I am in one spot, kind of steals hunting a little bit, or defensive stat hunting, I guess. He got dropped in a lot of formats, so... take a peek. Hopefully that does the trick on that one. Former hoop baller, Alan Soroki. Out of my mind. I didn't sleep well at all last night, guys. Alan, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know your last name is Soroki. I'm an idiot. Alan actually was briefly running our YouTube operation. We miss you, by the way. Big Al. Come hang out. I need help here over on YouTube. Don't you want to play with Dan in his California League slightly too large t-shirt? I know, I'm really doing great today. All of my teams have an unhealthy reliance on Kyle Anderson, Dan. I need to read this the way that I think you're saying it. All of my teams have an unhealthy reliance on Kyle Anderson, Dan. You know what that reminds me of is Lois Einhorn. Dan. Laces out, Dan. Can we all ask Towns to give it another week? We can ask. He's probably going to say no because I think he gave us about 16 weeks. But yes, you are correct to be concerned about slow-mo. He'll have a couple more games here in the tank, I think, before Cat gets fully ramped up. But Yeah, we slow mowers are in for a little bit of an unfortunate downturn here. But you know what? I'll take 4 months of a top 60 guy on the house, basically. What are you gonna do? My wife is in palliative medicine, and one of the big things that encapsulates is end of life care. And I don't mean to take this into a dark place, but we can apply some of those strategies here to fantasy sports, which is, sometimes things end and we just have to do it in a way that makes us feel comfortable. So in this case, that's probably hold on to slow-mo through another ball game, and that might be the end of the line. Jeffrey, thinking of dropping Ty Jones due to Ja's return and Conley after their games tomorrow. Any solid streamers to replace them for the rest of the week? Next day ads. Minnesota, they've got 3 days off between their game Wednesday and Sunday. And then with Memphis, it's all about just, having a player who's going to get starters minutes. I don't think I'm dropping Conley right now. Although if we find out that Anthony Edwards is coming back, then that changes a bit. But Mike Conley's going crazy right now. That said, there are a handful of teams, and we'll talk about this during the streaming part of the show as well, but there are a couple of teams that go 3 times Thursday through Sunday. Brooklyn, Charlotte, the Thunder, I think are the 3. Am I forgetting anybody? Friday might be an overload day for you as well, so keep one eye on that just in case you'd actually get more out of grabbing a player that's not on that day, like Brooklyn. They're Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, so they got a pretty good schedule at the end of the week, and you might be able to do like a Dorian Finney-Smith or a Royce O'Neal or something like that. You got to check your league, though. Find out who's on what teams, where things make sense. Yeah, so that's probably the direction I'm looking with that stuff. Who should I stream? Should I stream Sandro, Killian Hayes, Malachi Branham, or Keita Bates-Diop? Put those in order of priority ads. Well, Killian Hayes only has one more game after today, so he's a tough one for me to say is a good stream. Branham and Bates-Diop might not play today or tomorrow. Sandro probably plays both, and Zach Collins will have a day off. So believe it or not, I might actually go Sandro here, which I know sounds completely bat bleep insane. He's not great defensively out of the center spot, so that's kind of a little bit of a buzzkill, like his 33-minute fill-in start a week ago against Dallas. He had 10 points, 7 boards, couple of assists, and 2 3-pointers, but no steals, no blocks. And over his last 5 ball games, he has 1 steal and 2 blocks. And I know the minutes are not huge for him, but he probably sees the most minutes of anyone on your board there over the next 2 days. Now, if we're just talking about tonight only, it's Killian Hayes. Adam, Royce O'Neal or Josh Richardson for the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday? Well, Royce actually has a Sunday in there also. So you could hold him an extra day. And so that's the reason I would go Royce, because you have 4 games instead of 3 the rest of this week. If you really are moving off of whoever this player is, regardless of whether or not they're playing Sunday, it's probably J. Rich if you're just going 3 versus 3. But I got to give the edge to the dude with 4 games over 3 games. No, Alan, there's no excuse. I know your last name. You were with us for years. It's Soroki. I know. I Nikola Vucevic'd you. No excuse for me. Plus, I'm a play-by-play broadcaster. Getting names right is in my DNA. And if I screw them up, then I'll never forgive myself. Raymond! See what I did there? Hey, Dan, I was thinking about dropping Tyus Jones today and picking up either Eric Gordon or Killian. Full roster tomorrow and Friday. Also, I have DeLon Wright. Might keep him for the back-to-back, then drop. If you have a full roster on Wednesday, then yes, you can go ahead and drop Tyus Jones. Eric Gordon's interesting because he has the Thursday game as well and Saturday. Killian Hayes is today, Friday, and Friday is a possible overload day for a lot of rosters as well. Though I do prefer Killian in a one-day stream. If you're going just today, then you go Killian Hayes. But if you're worried about the rest of the week, then Eric Gordon is a better one. Might as well keep DeLon Wright for the games he's playing. Also, someone on your team is probably going to get ruled out at the last minute tomorrow. So it's probably better to have 11 guys so you can sub someone in at the last minute. Guys, I'm doing a bunch of questions here at the front end of the show today just to, flex it a little bit, keep things silly. Tell your friends. Like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here with all the question and answer stuff at the front end of the show. Also, is Rob Williams worth adding? Yes is the short answer. 3-game week for a top 75 guy is typically good enough. They've got a back-to-back next week, though, so I'm a little worried he might only play 2 of those. So head-to-head, he's kind of a tough add, especially if they limit his minutes in any way today, and you get like 2.5 games out of Robert Williams this week, where you could be getting 4 out of someone else. Yeah, I'm considering him in a couple of spots. Roto, obviously, you got to pick him up. Head-to-head, you kind of have to be hunting, like field goal percent, boards, and blocks. And probably then punting, like a combo hunt and punt. The old hunt and punt. I'm going to try to do as many of these questions as I can before we start the show. Picked up Chris Dunn for Dennis Smith Jr. Thoughts? Today? I don't know really what the difference is there. I mean, Dunn's better. You swap 3 games for 3 games. Your Charlotte 3 games end on Sunday, though, so your Washington or your Utah 3 games end on Saturday. I guess that opens you up for a Sunday move, but I try not to move laterally in games played. Epic brouhaha. You're not listening to me when I say to make roster moves to add games to your ledger. Is Isaiah Jackson a pickup now? Not yet. He was good yesterday, but not yet. Unless we see something more sustained here. And the Pacers have not thrown in the towel just yet, but they are getting close. So if you want to get out in front of it, you can. You can do it now if you want to get in front of it, but I wouldn't trust him daily yet. Gabriel, morning, Dan. Would you drop LeVert or slow-mo to add TJ McConnell? Dropping Tyus, but I may have one more. May have to drop one more to activate Time Lord. Probably LeVert, although they go tonight. So is this Roto or head-to-head? Yes is the answer. I'd prefer McConnell over those guys. Slow-mo probably has one more good game left. LeVert might not be good now with Jared Allen probably back. But at least LeVert plays today. So this is head-to-head. You drop slow-mo because you get the game out of LeVert, and then you activate Time Lord, and then you get this sort of bonus game there. If this is Roto, you drop LeVert. So hopefully that answers that. Is Westbrook an ad? Points leagues, yeah. And various 8-cat punt formats, but not Roto. In my finals week with 2 ads left. By the way, Alan, I got your text message. That's buzzing on the computer here is our good friend Alan Soroki. See, that's how you know we know each other for real, in real life. In my finals week with 2 ads left, got 1 empty spot with Cat and Kyrie in IL. Add Trey Jones to gain a game and then drop him for Cat tomorrow, or add Chris Dunn for the week and never use Cat. I'm probably going the Dunn route. I don't think Cat's going to be worth playing tomorrow. I mean, he might have the adrenaline game. But you get I'm thinking he probably plays about 16 minutes tomorrow and about 20 on Sunday. So 36 minutes of Cat versus Chris Dunn. You're probably talking about 80 to 100 minutes. I got to go Chris Dunn there. All right. Follow me on Twitter at Dan Vespers if any of you are not doing that right now. Like and subscribe because only 18 of the 30 some odd of you have done that. And please, if you're enjoying all the stuff we're putting out here on our YouTube page, please do subscribe. That's the reason. When I see that number tick up, then I think, okay, I'll do another show tomorrow. And when it stops, then I'm going to be like, do I really want to keep doing this crap every day? Honest, that's the honest to goodness truth. But let me put out a tweet that we're starting the regular part of the show, and we'll get that going here in the next, 15, 20 seconds. Sit tight. We'll be right back with the real show. Considering there weren't that many games on Monday, that was a relatively busy last 24 hours of news, wouldn't you say? I would. And I'm the person yelling into a microphone, so y'all just have to go with me on this one. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today, everybody. I am Dan Vespers. Thanks, as always, for tuning in and spending some of your day with us. And we'll dive into some of the good stuff here. I was thinking if I wanted to launch into a spiel here at the front end of the show, but I'm not going to do that. We're just going to dive right on in. Welcome to the YouTube viewers. Welcome to those listening after the fact on the recorded side. I hope you will join us for the live show at some point here because as long as YouTube keeps growing, I'll keep leaning into it. We even did a breaking news show earlier this morning on the Karl-Anthony Towns news, which I suppose we could open with on today's podcast. Cat likely back on Wednesday. That's tomorrow, everybody. After missing almost 4 months with a couple of different injuries. He had the initial one, then the setback, and so on and so forth. He's probably back. But I will say that, and we can talk a little bit more about this. And honestly, you know what? Screw this. Let's just talk about the Minnesota-New York game. We'll just launch right on in here because then we can talk about Cat and the ramifications therein. So let's say Cat does come back tomorrow. Did I even introduce the show? It doesn't matter. You guys know what it is at this point. Let's say Cat's back tomorrow. What does that mean? Well, probably playing only about 16 minutes or so would be my guess. He's been out for 4 months. They're not going to just drop him in and play 30 minutes. Tom Thibodeau is not the head coach in Minnesota anymore. And now they got to kid glove him a little bit. That's a huge injury. And Cat, after being an Iron Man for all of those years, and his body's basically given out here over the last couple. Which, I mean, if you didn't see that coming. These guys get worn into the ground. If you're wondering why players take days off these days and why they're trying to limit some minutes, it's because there is a toll that these bodies take, and eventually it catches up. You just sort of don't know when. So what did we see in this Minnesota-New York game yesterday? Well, a lot of points. For one, the Wolves shot 61%. Good gravy. Mike Conley's been going nuts with Anthony Edwards out. Taurean Prince went completely crazy. A perfect 8 for 8 from three-point land on his way to 35 points. Our old buddy Slow-Mo went just 1 for 3 at the free throw line, and that's been kind of an annoyance with him, but otherwise he's continued to be very good. Jaden McDaniels had some foul stuff and then just didn't get to play a whole lot late in this ball game. Jalen Noel got kind of warm. I mean, everybody that played was warm. Frankly, on both sides, basically everybody that played was pretty warm, except for, I guess, Emmanuel Quickly. But we want to look at this from the Cat lens, which is, well, what happens if he comes back and plays 16 minutes? Truth is, not much. What you saw in this game, minus the 61% shooting, is not that far off from what you would see in their next game. So if you're about ready to abandon ship on Kyle Anderson, I would say, yeah, I mean, be ready. But also, you probably don't have to pre-drop there. And plus, on top of everything else, Slow-Mo has shown himself to be a vital piece of what the Wolves are trying to do on a game-to-game basis. So they're going to find a way to get him some playing time. Here's the thing. As Cat gets ramped up, there just isn't enough room for these other guys. Obviously, Taurean Prince, he got the big jump here with Anthony Edwards out, but now they're saying that he might even be back on Wednesday. I think he's listed as questionable for tomorrow already. If those guys are all coming back in, well, Prince, we know, is a short-term thing. Slow-Mo's been top 60 for 4 months, which is pretty awesome. It won't hold that well. Even if he continues to play pretty good basketball, simple fact is Rudy Gobert is going to get the lion's share of the minutes at center. And as Cat gets ramped up, he'll get the lion's share of the minutes at power forward. And then Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards are the wings, small forward and shooting guard, and Conley's the point guard. There just isn't room for Slow-Mo in that mix unless they started him instead of McDaniels, but I don't think that's happening because I think they prefer to have Jaden in there for the defense, for the better floor spacing. I mean, maybe, but I'd be surprised. Regardless, it actually doesn't matter who they pick for that spot. Slow-Mo now is wedged into minutes with Jaden McDaniels and Karl-Anthony Towns, which is a battle that he didn't have to wage over the last 4 months. He's basically got his own slot on the team that now gets squeezed. So let's say they still can carve out 25 minutes for Kyle Anderson. What does that get him to? 100 to 125 range, I think, in maybe a best case scenario, but let's leave it open and say it's a possibility. Top 60 is just not in the cards after Cat gets ramped up. But, like a couple of games where Cat's playing 16, 18, 20 minutes or whatever it is, those minutes can come from a lot of spots. They can come from Taurean Prince. A couple will probably come from Slow-Mo, a couple maybe from Jaden. Does Gobert sit any game coming up here for a nagging injury or whatever? So I don't know that I would punt Slow-Mo to the curb immediately. I do know that Minnesota's schedule is not all that great, so maybe you do it after Wednesday's game on the head-to-head side. With Roto, you can probably just sort of let it dangle and see where it goes. But yes, there is an adjustment coming. By the way, the other side on that New York game, since we just launched right into it, Julius Randle had 57 points. That's a lot of points. His team lost, but it's a lot of points. Jalen Brunson's back, so Emmanuel quickly slides back into more of a really good head-to-head play and kind of a questionable Roto one. Josh Hart's doing his thing. Mitchell Robinson did not score, but had 9 boards, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, so he's A-okay. And then, everything else just sort of slots in where you'd expect it to with the Knicks. So officially now, hi, and welcome to the show, Fantasy NBA Today. I think I said that. May have mentioned I'm Dan Besbris. If not, I am Dan Besbris on Twitter at DANBESBRIS. Let's roll back to the top of the board and talk a little bit about what went on yesterday. First, Charlotte came back and beat Indiana. Charlotte trailed in this game by quite a lot. I think they were down by almost 20 at one point. And then we got everything we could have ever wanted out of the great Nick Richards. He actually had a little bit of foul trouble in the first half. But it's hard to complain about 14 and 17 with a couple of blocks. Rozier, Oubre, Hayward, PJ Washington, who had a poor ball game here. But all of those guys are easy starts for Charlotte in a 4-game week. And I think starts on the Roto side. The one that's a little bit more borderline is Dennis Smith Jr., who shot 1 for 10. If not for that, this actually ends up as a kind of a decent ball game for him. He's a guy that I am playing on the head-to-head 4-game week side. I am probably not dropping him into my Roto leagues unless I can deal with the percentages stuff that does kind of rear its head with DSJ and need assists and steals and blocks. It's kind of a weird combo. No guards that block. But if you're just saying, is this a top 100 play? The answer is probably not. As far as Indiana goes, Isaiah Jackson had a nice ball game. He played 20 minutes, 12 and 10 with a steal and 3 blocks. We are approaching, as I've said on a couple of shows recently, we are probably approaching the Indiana starts to look towards the future part of the proceedings. They're 2.5 games out, which is still within striking distance. You might say, what do you think about the Blazers? We've heard all this talk about Dame getting shut down. The Blazers are 4 games out with 2 teams separating them from a playoff spot. So I think there's an easier case to be made that Portland is in right on the cusp of shutdown mode, where the Pacers, I think, are close, but I don't think we're quite there yet. I think we're right on the borderline. So I got a question during the pre-show about whether or not this is time to pick up Isaiah Jackson. I think a lot of that has to do with your format right now. On the Roto side, you could probably do it and just sit on him because at this point, we're what? Pacers have a tough game in Toronto coming up tomorrow. Tough game in Boston on Friday. They'll have a battle in Atlanta on Saturday, but Atlanta's beatable. Dallas, Milwaukee, Oklahoma City, Cleveland next week. They'll be, I think, pretty safely out of the playoff picture after, what do we think, the next 3 or 4 ball games? So in a best case scenario, maybe they just sort of say, all right, it's been a good run. Halliburton's out right now. We're not about to make a push. Let's see what we got. And maybe we get more Isaiah Jackson by the back-to-back, Friday, Saturday. And in a worst-case scenario, they play it out until they're mathematically eliminated, which would probably take us to the middle of next week. Either way, you're probably looking at something like between 4 and 7 or 8. I guess maybe you could argue 8 between 4 and 8 games of more Isaiah Jackson. So on the head-to-head side, I'm a little bit concerned because you know that at any given moment they might just roll Miles Turner out there for 32, 33 minutes and just not play Jackson because Carlisle's done that a few times. So head-to-head, I'm a little bit nervous about it. You know, you're risking a move on a guy that could not play on a given night. Like, we just might not see him in Toronto tomorrow. But if it works, and if they really do say, okay, well, like, even if he only gets 14, 15 minutes in the bad ball games, and then in a back-to-back, maybe they rest Miles Turner in one of those, and you get, 25, 26-minute Jackson. It's a dice roll that could work out for you, but you know me. I'm all puckered up in dice roll situations. I generally avoid them unless I have to. So Roto, I would say you could kind of get out in front of this thing and say, you know what, worst case scenario, I'm going to get to deploy this guy in a week and a half. Head-to-head, I might wait until the back-to-back if I'm looking at it, or maybe next week. But this is where format, to me, makes a really big difference in how we approach the centers in Indiana. And then as you look at some of the other situations, like when Buddy Hield, he loves his Iron Man stuff. So how long until they pull him out of the lineup? Could be soon, could be later. Nemhard was a guy that I wasn't really trusting anyway. Jordan Nwora lost a lot of his value with Benedict Mathurin coming back. And then Jalen Smith is also a possibility here if they start to pull out any of the older guys. TJ McConnell, I'm still rolling with. I think they probably just feel like they kind of need a more traditional point guard out there to keep everything going in the same direction. Like, you can just turn a team over to all young guys, but then things get ugly really fast. You need someone to kind of steer the locomotive. I guess you don't need to steer a train. They just stay on the tracks. Keep the train on the tracks, steer the ship, whatever. But Indy is in a really interesting place right now. We're like right on the borderline of getting some silly season stuff. So keep a very close watch on that. Chicago, winners again in a very low-scoring double overtime game. Vooch was awesome. And, you got a good enough game. Considering it's double overtime, I kind of expected more out of DeMar and Levine, but they had all these defensive stats that covered it up. Patrick Beverley, right on the edge. He fouled out in 40 minutes of this game, or maybe he would have gotten a little bit more. But right now, he is the sort of, you guys know if you've listened to this podcast for multiple years, I love Pat Beverley when he's rolling because you can get threes, rebounds, steals, and blocks out of your point guard. You're not going to get scoring, but I have Beverley on a couple of teams where I'm attacking some of those categories, and it's rare to be able to get that stuff out of an extra slot in your roster. Because you should, sure, you can get rebounds and blocks and things like that out of a big man spot, but it's nice to be able to kind of double up on that. You play centers at your center spots. You can play a center at a power forward spot if they have eligibility there, but it's pretty cool when you can squeeze some of that out of the guard spot. But again, that's what this time of year is. It's why doing shows right now is so complicated, is because you almost have to describe every player in every scenario. Here's a scenario I like. Anytime anybody misses a game for Philadelphia, DeAnthony Melton is back to being successful. There was this brief Jalen McDaniels thing, but Melton, now that he's hot again, he's thrust himself back into that driver's seat. Melton's got 10 steals in his last 2 ball games. He is absolutely rolling right now in the middle of a really nice head-to-head run. I admit, nervous to throw him into a roto spot because, if he has a cold game and plays 13 minutes, it destroys everything. But James Harden is dealing with some foot soreness. So, Melton's in a really interesting situation right now. If Harden has to miss, I don't know, they've got another Chicago game, but it's on the road tomorrow. They've got a back-to-back coming up. You might see Harden miss a game or two in there. And then Melton would slide into the starting lineup, and it's all systems go at that point. We talked Minnesota, New York already, so we can slide right past that ball game to the Warriors, who did get a road win over the Rockets, but it still counts. Alperen Şengün sat this one out with an illness. Jayshawn Tate sat this one out because it was part of a back-to-back. Warriors got good stuff out of Clay and Steph. Jonathan Kuminga's actually been coming on a little bit lately. I suppose we need to talk about Kuminga a tiny bit. Right now, to me, Kuminga's a very interesting keeper. I don't know if that's something that you guys could shake a stick at. He's also a very interesting head-to-head play because the Warriors are on a better part of their schedule. They've got a 4-game week. They had one last week. They've got one this week. They go back into a 3-gamer next week. He and Kuminga and Looney are both, I think, playable in this 4-game week. I don't know that I would throw them into your 3-gamer, but at least it's close. And then Dante DiVincenzo, he just was off in this one. He only played 19 minutes. He'll see more playing time in the next one. He's been really good with Wiggins out. I'm not going to change my eval on him based on one slow ball game. On the Houston side, big Tyree Eason game with no Jayshawn Tate. We know he's one forward or center away. And in this ball game, there happened to be one of each actually sitting out for the Rockets. A center sat, a forward sat. So lots of Eason to go around. And, that's another one where, keeper, obviously. Roto, these types of situations make sense. And then for head-to-head, Houston has one of the best playoff schedules for last week, for this week, for next week, if you go that far. So just hold on because you just want all the games you can get. Jabari Smith Jr. bounced back after a couple of slower ball games. KJ Martin has settled into more of a schedule stream kind of play with this team mostly healthy. Kevin Porter's a play in all formats. And then Dallas, 2 more games here. Kyrie re-hurt his foot in this ball game. He tried to play through it, but he left the arena in a walking boot. So I would expect him to miss at least one ball game. But you might see Luka back for the Mavs, who host the Warriors tomorrow. And these are games the Mavs really need to win because they're part of that big clump of teams. They're right at 500. Half game up on the Wolves, Thunder, and Jazz. 1 game up on the Lakers. Half game back of the Warriors. There's a lot of teams between 6 and 12 in that Western Conference. So Dallas, they're going to try to get what they can get. If you're into Christian Wood, losing a superstar that's not Christian Wood is good for him. Even if Luka comes back, there's probably still enough for Wood there. It's when both stars are in that we've seen Wood largely marginalized. And then on the Memphis side, Dylan Brooks picked up a T, so he'll be suspended. Ja likely back tomorrow. So this is probably the end of the Tyus Jones run. Santi Aldama had a huge ball game, but that is because JJJ had 5 fouls in 23 minutes. JJJ played well late, but he was limited by foul trouble. Xavier Tillman has slowed down a little bit lately. I still think he's a relatively safe stream in most formats. I think I probably like him more in head-to-head than Roto, but I'm okay with deploying him in both. Memphis has 2 games with Houston, so everybody's going to be racking up stats in those. And then Sacramento just didn't come prepared in this one. Utah kind of jumped on them early. The Kings made a big comeback, but just sort of ran out of gas late. De'Aaron Fox, another huge ball game. Keegan Murray had a big one with no Kevin Huerter in this one. Kessler Edwards got the start, but largely it was Malik Monk who did the extra stuff coming off the bench. Monk was actually quite bad in this game, but if Huerter misses another one, you'd probably see Malik play better. I think we probably see Huerter back in the next one. He was ruled out like 2 hours before game time. So, although the Kings play tonight, so back-to-back's a little iffy. I honestly don't know. Call that one 50-50. Keegan's going to play better when Huerter's not in there. Just an opportunity to get a few extra shots. But, don't change things too much for the Kings side. And then with Utah, Ochai Agbaji had a really nice game. He's been playing better. Now, in this one, we knew everybody was going to have to get more shots up with no Lauri Markkanen. THT was limited by 5 fouls in 21 minutes. Chris Dunn got some extra run, and it was a beautiful thing. 18 points, 10 assists, a steal, a block, and 2 3-pointers. Kelly Olynyk's rolling. Walker Kessler's rolling. If Markkanen has to miss any more time, I think you could probably start all of the starters except Fontecchio. Might be the one I'd leave out. I know he played 33 minutes, and he's sort of a maybe. But, we're talking about Roto, head-to-head, whatever. Those other 4 should be good enough. And Chris Dunn, who's just been amazing. And he's done this 2 years in a row where he signed some 10-day contracts near the end of a season and just posts these massive fantasy lines. Someone should give that dude a dang job. Chris Dunn's looked really good. What are teams looking for, if not that? I know he's not a superstar, but geez. All right, that's what happened yesterday. We were able to move through it at a pretty good clip. Let's turn the page and look at what's coming up here next, which is basically streaming effectively. Oh, and there's my child on a live show. You see that you're on the screen, child? What are you doing? Where are you going? It's right there, kiddo. Oh, my God. You got to close the door all the way this time, though. Don't crack it. All the way. Thank you. Yay! LAUSD strike. Hope you guys enjoyed that little... Oh, my goodness. All right, hold on a sec, everybody. I had to pause the recording, so now I got to go back and figure out what was going on when a kid popped into view. Hold on, everybody. Coming up here next, which is basically... There we go. All right, we're talking streaming next. The recorded, folks. I did do a little bit of editing on the recorded side. My child wandered in to get the LAUSD sent an iPad home with the kiddos, and he's going to do a little bit of work on that here. Silliness. We're moving over into the streaming part of the show. Let's talk about what's coming up and how we can best utilize our moves here. I mentioned on yesterday's show that you probably needed to abandon ship on a couple of teams that had really rough schedules, like Denver, because they had 2 days off to start the week, and Miami had 2 days off to start the week. And then only have 2 games after that. I still was really hoping that folks could kind of hold on to their moves as long as possible. Today's a day where, again, believe it or not, you should not be doing anything. There are very few. In fact, I think I might even say none, as the YouTubers can see me kind of scrolling through the streaming grid to make sure I'm not missing something obvious. There are no teams that played on Monday that now transition into a terrible schedule that didn't already have a bad schedule this week. Meaning if you were going to make a move with one of those teams, you would have done it yesterday. So a team like the Heat, who had a 2-game week that starts on Wednesday, or wherever the hell else I said before that. Nuggets were the other one. But like Detroit, for instance, 2-game week, but they play tonight. So if you liked the Piston you had last week, there was sort of no reason to move on from them until tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, you can definitely move on from your Pistons. And I think I said on yesterday's show, and I'll reiterate it today, that tomorrow is a day where you want to move on from Pistons to get someone playing 3 times Wednesday through Sunday, which is a lot of teams. A lot of teams go Wednesday through Sunday. So you'll have a crap ton of opportunity. And you can also look to see if you have any overload days in there and look at the teams that play on kind of the goofball days. Like New Orleans, I think, has a goofball day schedule this week. Clippers have a goofball day, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday kind of thing. So there are some clubs like that where you might want to look and see which days they're going and make sure that you're not spending a roster move to get a player playing on a day where you're already full. So just keep an eye out for that. But again, I really don't see a big reason to make a move today other than like a very select few teams. The Wolves, if you have a Timberwolf that you really don't like, because they only go 2 times the rest of the week after they did play yesterday. But if the Wolf that you that you like, if it's someone that you enjoy, let them play tomorrow. I mean, get the Wednesday game out of your Timberwolf before you punt on them. Because again, you're making that same decision that we've talked about in the past, which is, do I want 1 game out of the guy I have that I like, and then 2 games out of someone else, or 3, I guess it'd be 3 games out of someone else, or whatever it is, or do I go for 4 games of the someone else? And usually the answer is I want 1 game from the dude I like, and then I'll tack that onto 3 games from the player that maybe I don't like as much. I think the internet is funking out over here, so apologies if that's going on. It might be because my kid is on it in the other room. So again, I would strongly recommend not using a move today if you're trying to maximize games played. If there's a player on your team that you just really want to get rid of, then fine. Like, we got word that some Spurs are not playing in the front end of their back-to-back, but I still think that means most of those guys are probably going to go in the other 3 games this week because their schedule isn't particularly grueling outside of this back-to-back. They got a day off in between each of those. Okay, that's something you could consider. But for the most part, if you had a player you liked, you can still utilize them tonight before having to deal with some stuff tomorrow. Tomorrow is a day we're going to start cashing in some moves because there are a number of teams that go from having a pretty bad schedule to a very bad. Like Detroit, for instance, they go from having a pretty darn bad schedule to having a rotten one after today. They go one time over the last 5 days this week. You can also look at sort of, again, some of those goofball days. We will likely be choosing someone that has 3 games the rest of the week. And then on Thursday, we slide into only 2 or 3 teams that actually have a really good schedule from Thursday to the end of the week. The one thing I will note is that one team plays 4 times between today and the end of the week that doesn't go on the overload days. And that's the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn is a really interesting team because they avoid Wednesday and Friday while also still playing 4 times. So that's a spot where, if you're concerned, I guess, or if you have an overload player on your roster, either tomorrow or Friday, you can actually move off of that player early to get over to a Brooklyn Net, and you can add more than the 2 games it looks like. Like, take, for instance, let's say that you have someone that goes Wednesday, Friday, or something with Friday, like maybe it's a Piston, in fact, because they go Tuesday, Friday. Or, I don't know what examples you can use. The Lakers go Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So the Lakers, it looks like they have 3 games this week to your schedule. But let's say the Laker you have is like Malik Beasley. He's been really terrible lately, which of course means he'll probably light someone up for 8 3-pointers in one of these games. Or let's say you've been sitting on Dennis Schroeder and he's been kind of bad lately. Or hell, you can pick another team that goes Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. I don't care. Or Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Phoenix goes Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Portland goes Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Plenty of examples of teams that go Wednesday, Friday, something. 3 games from Wednesday to the end of the week, but 2 of them on overload days. If even one of those overload days is one where you don't actually need that player, you could move off of that club to a team with sort of the off-kilter schedule, like the Brooklyn Nets, or even the Thunder, who only play 3 times also, but you get all 3 of the games from one team where you'd only get 2 from the other. Or if it's Brooklyn, you'd get all 4 of those games, and you'd only get 2 of the other. So there are some instances here where you can make a move from a team that looks like they're playing 3 times to a team that is playing 4 and you actually gain 2 games. But I really think we're overcomplicating today. It's a bad day to make roster moves unless you have an injured player. And in that case, okay, we always want to use a move to get off an injury of someone who might miss more than 1 or 2 games. I hope that was somewhat helpful. It was a little bit convoluted today, I know, but hopefully that was somewhat helpful on the streaming side. We'll do it all again tomorrow, everybody. Thank you, as always, to our recorded listeners. Please drop a 5-star review on the pod and come join us on YouTube here in the future. It's, again, that website is youtube.com/sportsethos. Super easy to find. And hit me up if you're listening on the recorded side. If you want to be a part of what we're doing over here, if you have any questions about what we're doing over here, we'd love to have you. Maybe cover a team, get into the fantasy space. All that stuff is on the table. And, of course, check out the Fantasy Pass. It's just $5.99 a month, people. And it gets you premium access to our pros, myself included, in our premium Discord. You get pickups of the night. You get the rest of season projections. And you get the baseball draft guide. It's all rolled up in one delightful Fantasy Pass. I know you're going to love it. Just $5.99. There's no lock on it. You could just do it for 1 month. Or if you get it and you hold it through the off season for basketball and enjoy it during the baseball season, you get the Brewski 150 early next year. Yeah, that's right. Aren't you glad you stayed to the end of the show to find that out? Damn right you are. YouTubers, stay after the show. We'll do questions in the chat room. Recorded, folks. Until tomorrow. So long for now. shorter show today. I don't know why. Maybe I needed a rant or something. All right, well, let's transition here. Last chance. I got to tweet it out to get the Q&A stuff into the YouTube chat. Closing up shop in the next 5 to 10. Hey, you want to be a producer of this show? Oh, cheapo move by me. I guess we can take off the streaming grid and you can just look at my dumb face for the next little bit. Rhett covers the Pacers. He's also our dynasty expert. Disagree on Ijax not being a pickup, though you did have the if you want to get out in front of it. Yes, caveat. Yeah, that's right. See, the caveat covers me. Indy losing to Charlotte and Chicago, beating Philly, pushed them 2.5 back from the 10 seed with 10 games left. Mild has had some back soreness / tightness. Pretty easy to see a future where you get shut down, so Ijax and Jalen can ramp up the last stretch. Yeah, I mean, that's roughly what I think when I spent a little more time on it. I don't know that I would do it on head-to-head until I knew for sure, because I would hate to blow a move and then have him disappear. And there goes the internet again. I literally can't get anything done around here when there's one other person on the internet on a rainy day in LA. I'm screwed. Between the rain, mucking things up around LA, because it does that, and then having my kid streaming God knows what in the other room, it's just going to be like a super low resolution video right now. Oh, well, as long as you guys can hear me, I guess that's okay. Maybe I should try to save some RAM. Let's see if I can close some stuff up and save some RAM here. Close some tabs, close some windows. We'll get there. Free up some RAM, free up the computer power. That didn't do it, did it? Maybe I should switch over to Wi-Fi instead of plugged in. I don't know. Irvin, what's up, dude? Best assist streamer after Wednesday. I'm dropping Tyus Jones. So Thursday through the end of the weekend. I believe Dennis Smith Jr. was probably your play there. If I'm recalling here, I closed down the streaming grid just a second ago to try to save a little bit of computer juice, but I can open it back up. Yeah, he'll go 3 times Thursday through Sunday. And he's one of only like 2 or 3 teams that I think has the 3 and 4 games to close out the week. Brooklyn and Oklahoma City are the other ones. You're not going to get an assist guy out of those teams. So it's Dennis Smith Jr., I think, pretty clearly. Dan, I'm in desperate need of threes. Which player is the best schedule starting today until Sunday specifically for threes? I was looking at Tim Hardaway Jr., but his field goal percent scares the crap out of me. I mean, we talked about Brooklyn being an interesting one. They're not all 3-pointers, but Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal will probably get you a couple in their 4 games the rest of the week. Other teams that go 4 times the remainder, Oklahoma City, if you wanted to go Isaiah Joe, he'd probably get you a handful each game. Spurs, you can't really trust anyone to go all 4. Wizards, it's Corey Kispert is an option. So I might go Kispert or one of the Nets. What's up, Dan? Thumbs up already. Oh, yeah, thumbs up. Hit the button, guys. We're still pushing this thing. Gosh, darn it, stupid internet. Oh, God, the internet. We'll get through this thing, maybe. I don't know. My bandwidth has dropped. I'm literally plugged in, Cat 5, and this is the internet that I've got right now. I don't even know if you guys can still hear what I'm saying. It's probably terrible. Dropping Tyus Jones, and now DeJounte is out with an illness. Oh, yeah, that just broke in the middle of our show. Well, that makes Bogdan Bogdanovic really interesting. Son of a gun, is he on the team I'm playing against? Of course he is. Yeah, of course he is. F me. I'm doomed. I'm doomed, I say. Well, I wasn't trying to win threes in that battle anyway, so... Well, pick a player from one of them 4 teams we were talking, or those couple teams that has 4 games the rest of the week. I really do think Brooklyn's wings are probably your safest bet, because at least those guys get 25 to 30 minutes most games. Hawks, if you can get your hands on Bogdanovic, Sadiq Bey probably sees a bump with DeJounte out because they'll play a little bit bigger for stretches. They've still got 4 games left this week. And then we talked about OKC, that's a roulette wheel. And Washington, you've got a few guys there that make sense too. Should I go for Chris Dunn and drop Tyus points league? Probably. Although again, it's 3 games out of both. No, that's I don't know. Yeah, probably. I hate to use a move to not really gain a game. Although you could say that Tyus Jones is going to get to play like 50 minutes over the next 3 games. And Chris Dunn probably gets closer to, I don't know, 70, 75. So you get like a 1-game bump there based on minutes alone. McConnell was a flop. He was fine. You guys are too hard on people, man. McConnell really wasn't that bad. 8 points, 8 assists, 2 steals, 4 boards, a 3-pointer. I mean, what do we, after going a massive in the previous whatever it was, he's been fine. He's been fine. We get too crazy. We expect these guys to have like first-round value. It just doesn't work that way. Why is Delon Wright cooled off? Honestly, why? I don't know. Readjusting to coming off the bench. I think he'll get better again, though. Is Reeves worth an ad? Yeah, I mean, yes, he is going to cool off. He's not going to throw 35 up there, but he's really good at getting the foul line. The Lakers need what he's doing. I think I'd play him. Although just understand the next one's probably going to be slower. Oh my God, the internet is so bad right now. But it sounds like you guys can hear me, so at least that's something. Malcolm Brogdon or Derek White rest of season head-to-head? Probably Derek White, but I value defensive stats. If you need the more scoring stuff, you go Brogdon. So that one's, again, about stat hunting. My Chris Dunn for Dennis Smith Jr. is in a Roto league. Roto. Good. Thank goodness. Yeah, I'll go Chris Dunn on that one. Kispert worth a look. Only if you need 3s. Which 2 players is better to keep for next week that you would try to add to win steals, meanwhile not hurting field goal percent? That's a lot going on there. For next week, sheesh, I haven't even really looked that far ahead here. We're still sort of long streaming our way through the beginning of this one. Melton has 4 games next week, so he is intriguing. Nurkic, no. Clarkson's not even playing yet, so no. LeVert, I think, is about to turn into a pumpkin with Jared Allen coming back, so no. So I guess it's Melton. Process of elimination. Is your kiddo protesting LAUSD? He's home. He has no choice but to be part of it. Tia's a drop. Who? Who's Tias? It's probably a nickname I don't know. I need full names, people. You got to give me names. Royce O'Neal or Marvin Bagley. If you're just going for one night, it's Bagley, but their schedule's awful after tonight. So if you're worried about the rest of the week, it's Royce. Would you drop Smart or Olynyk for Cat? Head-to-head, neither right now, because I don't think Cat's going to play that much this week. 35 minutes maybe over those 2 games, 36. If you're looking towards the future, I'm dropping Marcus Smart. Mitchell Robinson worth a look? Yeah, he's been top 70 all year. Absolutely. Do you think Sandro is worth an ad? I mean, he's going to play in one of these 2 games. He'll have big minutes when Collins sits in one of the 2, and he'll have terrible minutes in the other one. You roll that all together. If you're just trying to pile up a back-to-back for him, he'll probably get a grand total of about 50 minutes, which for him is not that great, unfortunately, because he doesn't get any defensive stats. But, you know, probably not going to hurt you in that many spots. Is Anthony Simons a pickup? God, I hope so. Shallow league, I guess. Audio fine, just a little blurry. Yeah, it seems like the internet's not coming back for me either. I don't know what to do at this point. No question for me. We just wanted to thank Dan and the Sports Ethos team for all your help. Won my 2nd straight final. Atta baby. Take that money. Slow-mo 2 games or O'Neal 4 games? It's Royce. I don't know who to get from Wizards and Spurs. Gafford, Kispert, Avdia are all, Monte Morris are all possible for Wizards. Spurs, no, because they're going to rest everybody in one of those games. Thoughts on Abaji? He's decent. I mean, he's not going to get to do that much when Markkanen comes back. But, you know, with 4 games this week, he probably was fine. He's not someone that I'm, like, hunting. Although they do go 3 times in 4 days starting tomorrow. But overload days, so weigh it out a little bit. Okongwu versus Olynyk need to survive this week. Well, Okongwu still got 4 games left this week, so it's him because you get the extra game. Don't drop your TS or your TOs. Yeah, your aunts and uncles, what are you doing? Thanks, Beans. Mis tias. Reeves or Bogdanovic? Today or rest of season? Because with DeJounte out, it's Bogdanovic today. Well, I guess Reeves doesn't play today. Reeves has 3 games. Bogdanovic has 4. I'll go Bogdan for the week if we're going to do the week because you get 4 games with 1 very large one with DeJounte out versus Reeves. You have 3 likely medium ones. So give me the 4 games on Bogdanovic. I don't know what the hell's going on with my internet, guys, but I think I got to shut this thing down. Thank you for all the questions today. Slightly shorter show. I don't know. I wasn't rushing or anything, but whatever. Hey, y'all better click thumbs up before you leave the window. I'm watching you. See you later. Sorry about the quality.